I got to ask you about your book, Bad A Solution
Yeah.
to Today's Big A Problem.
Right.
In chapter 1, you write about public schools, and you mentioned how private schools should be made illegal, right?
Yeah.
And why do you believe that private schools should be made illegal?
Well, we have two really serious problems with public schools right now. They're doing a poor job of educating our kids.
Yeah.
Kids are testing worse than they've tested in decades. We're number 28 out of 37 internationally. Our kids are testing in math. We're 12 out of 37 in sciences. We're way behind. And you know, in this fast-paced world, you can't be behind the rest of the world, let alone your own peers and needing to be successful in your own country. So we have that problem of poor education. But we also, I have a theory that we have another problem in the country of this Grand Canyon chasm between the rich and the poor. And that problem between those entities is getting bigger and stronger all the time and going to last for a real long time.
Right.
And I think that the school system is contributing to that. And what I mean by that is the wealthy people today, who also have the most influence, are putting their kids in private schools. So they don't really care about what goes on in public schools because their kids aren't there, Jesse.
Right.
And what happens is you've got kids, now look, there are good public schools. There are lots of parents who really care about great education, help their kids along. That exists. But for the most part, you take some kid in public school versus a kid whose parents have spent $25,000 to $50,000 a year at a college prep and the education that they get, they're not at the same starting line. So the kids who go to private school, they're going to get into the better schools. They're going to get the better jobs.
Right.
They're going to be wealthy. And they're going to sustain that difference between the rich and poor in our country. And I feel that's a very bad thing.
Really?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Our founding fathers believed that America would survive and democracy would survive if everybody had equal opportunity. And particularly John Adams believed that began in public schools, that was the insurance policy of everybody having the same shot at being successful in our country because they all went to public school and then became whatever they were capable of becoming. And I believe that very strongly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And do you support school voucher? Or where the parents can take the money, I think it's called school voucher.
Yeah, right.
And the parents can take the money from the public and take their children to whatever school they would like to.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And why not for that?
Because I think that just makes the problem I described worse. Because you have people who are wealthier and pay extra for their kids to go to private school. And now you're saying, well, let's take money out of the public school pool.
Right.
And give those wealthier people extra money to pay for their kid to be in private school. Because I tell you what, most people who have their kids in public school don't have extra money for a private school. They could take that voucher, but they don't have extra money like rich people do to add to it for a better school.
But that money, the voucher money, really belongs to the parents because it's the tax dollars that come from the parents. And they should be able to take their money and go take their children wherever they want to.
I hear you. And it's a good argument. However, it's their choice to pay for something more. It's, you know what, it's like if you tried to have the water company, DWP, reimburse you for water you're not using from your faucet because you buy bottled water.
Right.
Isn't it the same thing?
Not really.
It is, though. You're making a choice to buy bottled water and not using the water from your tap.
But still, that's not like making your kids suffer because other kids are failing. Do you support homeschooling?
You know what? I want equal education. Let me tell you, I want those rich most influential people in the public school discussion. I want them to make sure that all kids are getting a great education along with their kids. Bring them into this because they have to have, their kids are going to be there. They're going to make sure through their money and their political influence.
Really?
Yeah.
When you say equal opportunity, what does that mean?
Well, there aren't many opportunities for two people starting out. We come from different parents, different households, different cities, whatever it is. And to start out and say, how can we make this country give both of these kids an equal shot at being successful in the United States?
Amazing.
And the only way to do that, in my opinion, is through an education as the same, but make it as good as you possibly can. I mean, we really need to have fabulous schools, fabulous teachers, pay them a lot. We need great materials. We need great buildings. We need security. Fabulous schools. Treat teachers like a great profession.
Amazing.
Make it great.
But why should most parents are no good and the children are no good, right? And so you have these parents who are putting their children into the schools and they're bad, as your book said, bad age children, right? And so if parents who care about their children, making sure that their education is happening, why should their children have to suffer by putting them in the public school with bad age children?
Well,
coming from
because everybody's going to be in there. Right. First of all, everybody's going to be in public school, but you're not going to have bad kids ruin the education for everybody else.
But
they're going to have to get moved out. They're going to have to go to a remedial class, and then you know what? They're out.
But that's what's happening. So you're leaving the bad children at the public school, and you're taking your children away from there because you're not responsible for somebody else's child or children.
I'm saying
and you shouldn't let your family suffer just because
I agree.
They don't care.
I agree that everybody is in these great schools, and if you have some, bad kid who's disrupting everybody else, have other classes for kids like that, in the public schools,
right,
and try to bring them along and help them see if there's a way to make them perform, and if there's not, they just can't be there. But they can't disturb the students and the classes toward getting a great education. That just doesn't work.
But that's never going to happen, by the way, because the teachers are no good nowadays, and so you're sending your children to this school with all these bad children.
What schools have the best teachers?
And homeschoolers, and
private
maybe
schools.
Some private schools.
Private schools.
Right.
Listen, we need to have great teachers.
Right.
We need those great teachers
in the public
schools
today.
But if that's all there is, Jesse, if that's all there is, if there's no private schools, all there are public schools, and they're going to be treated well and paid well, and the classes are going to be, smaller classes, great equipment, and safe.
But that's not going to happen.
Why not?
Because the teachers are no good, the schools are no good.
No, but
and now they have women running the principals and
that's how we make it.
Women are not created to lead, so the kids are not going to listen to that.
But what I'm saying is, if you take the wealthiest people who care so much about education, and they have the political influence, and make them put their kids in the public schools, you're going to see changes.
No.
All the things you're talking about are going to be fixed.
How about if they were to create competition for the public school? Like the public school have to compete with private school, they have to compete with homeschooling. Wouldn't the public school be forced to do a better job then?
Well, how
about that?
It's a good idea.
Competition is always good.
It is. I agree with that. But they're coming from so far behind, of not having the money, not having the political influence to compete with private schools and those people who have their kids. It's not a fair competition.
But it's so unfair to make good children suffer with the bad children.
Not if you make all the public schools What if?
But you can't change the
What
parents.
if you could
the parents
make?
are bad. Let's say you created the best schools on earth,
That's what I'm saying.
but the parents are still no good, and so the kids got to still be bad. You can't change the
Maybe
parents.
the schools are so good that they actually help kids who don't have the support back home to be good students.
No, that's not gonna happen.
It'd be nice if it did. I'm not sure.
Because the
That's hard
teachers
to
can't
do.
be their parents.
Yeah.
Not at school.